Welcome back to the Muslim Street. That was Hassan Shibly that you just heard there, who's, you know, kind of back and forth, our third ghost host here on the show. I want to welcome Hassan to the show, and I want to welcome him back to the show and for all his support for the Muslim Street. Again, Hassan Shibly is the new executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations here in Tampa, Florida, and he's also an attorney. We were just discussing the run-ins that Hassan has had recently with some bigots in the community, and
basically,
yeah, I mean basically, and unfortunately, you know, there's this extremely blown up situation from Hassan's involvement in expressing what Islam is at a school for some students, and he was discussing Pamela Geller and the likes, and he was discussing, you know,
the Florida Family Association.
I always get confused if I'm saying it right or wrong. And it made me think of a story. You know, when I was, I did some casework in the Balkans. I spent a month there traveling, and we did 15-year post-genocide reconciliation casework. We went to the Balkans. We met with criminals of war. We met with, you know, victims of the genocide. We met with women that lost 40 to 50 members of their very family. And when we were meeting with the law enforcement, when we were meeting with the people that were involved in the tribunal and the, you know, holding people accountable after the war, the number one question that was brought up, this was a very important question, and this is a question that just in terms of international the Geneva Convention, in terms of international peace and conflict resolution, it hasn't really been answered definitively. But it always comes to question that after there's a genocide, after there's a war in a country, in a society, in a culture, whenever there's anything like ethnic cleansing involved, one of the main questions that tribunals have is, do we try the radio hosts? Do we bring them accountable, the radio hosts, the politicians, these people that were spreading the fear? Because if you look back, like, for example, this man in Norway, he cited people such as Pamela Geller. He cited people that were inciting fear and hatred within him as justification for his actions. And of course, there is no justification for such actions. But you will see that international crime tribunals will ask themselves, how do we prosecute the radio hosts, these bigots that are spreading fear? You want to comment on that, Hassan?
One of the things that we have, obviously, is freedom of speech, and there's no doubt that generally we have the freedom to say whatever we want. But, you know, when you yell fire in a crowded mall and cause a stampede, there's some responsibility to that, and our words all have consequences. And hateful rhetoric is not cost-free. So the likes of Geller, Robert Spencer, David King, these guys, is what they go ahead and they promote so much hatred against Muslims, vilifying their entire faith, vilifying American Muslims, to make them the enemy, to make them the other, to dehumanize them, to push people like the loner, the guy who killed, who shot at Miss Giffords,
Gabby.
You know, they push these people who are mentally disturbed into committing criminal acts. They push people like Breivik, and then so they basically walk the fine line. They push people just up to the point of committing violence, but they themselves don't break the line. They themselves don't commit violent acts, but they incite violence. And this is scary. I mean, when you say that all American Muslims are disloyal and are trying to take over our country and are evil and are this and are that, what are you expecting the average person to respond to that?
I think a guest on WTAN actually yesterday said something along the lines of Muslims hate all Jews. You know, there's a lot of these stereotypes going on, and not Bill. I promise it wasn't Bill. He brought it to my attention. But yeah, and you know, there's even this fine line of indoctrination of the youth. And I want to play a video. and maybe we can discuss
Sure,
that.
and yeah, that's an excellent point. Before you play the video, one of the things they're saying is that Pamela Geller, Robert Spender, David Caden, and Kempel, and the people who basically led the protest or showed up at the protest are saying, "Why are you indoctrinating our kids?" You know, apparently I'm such an eloquent and amazing speaker that one talk for 30 minutes to high school kids, and I can completely indoctrinate them and completely brainwash them. That's how powerful I am, I guess. And the kids apparently
or maybe you just brought them down to earth. I don't know.
It's amazing. So, but if you really listen to their kids. Listen to the kids of these that are promoting hatred. They're the ones that sound indoctrinated.
Well, we do have a clip. Hassan, before I play the clip, where is this from?
This is one of the kids who was brought in by his parents to protest Islam being taught at the high school.
Okay, definitely. We had some technical difficulties before the show, so I'm gonna have to use my mic to play it. But let's hope that this works right now. Here we go.
First of all, these extremists either follow two paths of Sharia law. Force of arms, like homicide bombers, rockets into Israel, and the effort to develop nuclear weapons. A program like CARE has been named Stealth Jihad, which their main goal is to infiltrate into schools and other institutions. CARE, like I said, is one of the organizations that possesses as a moderate use of stealth jihad and to activate their objective, which they use. And CARE actually funds homicide bombers to do what they do. They fund the ability of rockets being shot into Israel. They fund the making of nuclear weapons in Israel. So, knowing they flew a plane into the Twin Towers, it's only a matter of time before the U.S. figures out that the one thing it's only a matter of time before we all figure out the use of nuclear weapons is going to be. I mean, why you let this religion be taught in our schools, but you won't be let the religion that this country was made off of be taught in this school. What's the point?
Wow.
You know, it's disturbing. I don't even know where to start. But
I mean, first of all, let me say poor child.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Like, poor child.
Kid, completely brainwashed, has no idea what he's talking about, is saying statements.
There was a couple contradictions in there.
Yeah, apparently we are funding
Israel's nuclear weapons.
Yeah, apparently we're funding Israel's nuclear weapon program.
That's the United States. That's the United States.
Hitler had his youth movement. But go ahead.
Oh, I mean, it's very scary because you have these young, impressionable kids that are not being exposed to other cultures, other ideas, and they're being fed this completely made-up defamatory lies.
I mean, I really pity this kid.
Exactly.
I feel really bad for him because it doesn't really seem that he understood what he was saying or there was no logic.
I mean, first of all, he blamed the terrorist acts that were committed by a few individuals that Muslims have repeatedly condemned. And we, as Muslims, American Muslims, were double victims of 9/11. We were victims as Americans because our country was attacked and many Muslims died on that day, many Americans died on that day. And then we were victims as we faced a backlash. But he apparently, I mean, he says, what was his quote? What's the point of teaching the religion that caused the Twin Towers to fall down?
And we should be teaching the religion that was here when this country was founded, the same religion who
enslaved Africa?
Who enslaved the Africans and who committed genocides.
I mean, you know, I'm not a fan of blaming anything on religion. You know?
No religion did that, but by that logic. I mean, if Islam is the religion that brought down the Twin Towers, then by that logic, Christianity is the religion that eliminated the Native Americans, that enslaved Africa, that the Inquisitions, did the witch hunts. You know, and that's just a terrible logic to hold. You don't blame an entire faith and an entire people for the acts of a few criminals.
Were you at this meeting when the child spoke?
I was not.
You were at the meeting. I mean, I would be interested to see the reaction of the school board. He was speaking to the school board, correct?
In terms, I did hear some positive support coming out of the school board for inviting you into the schools.
Well, I think the school board was very smart in that they drew the line. They said, hey, I mean, first of all, what this kid said was just repeated by several others that he he came with, just bringing complete false lies. Either they're lies or twisted effects. Lies are like the fact that Muslims or CARE or myself support terrorism or support 9/11 or fund terrorism or fund Israel's nuclear program. I mean, just complete BS. I'm sorry to use that language. It made out of thin air. And then the other point is that blaming us for the criminal acts of a few. So completely brainwashed. And I think the school said, hey, it's because of this kind of hatred, because of this kind of misinformation that we need to invite people like Hassan, that we need to invite Muslims in our schools to clear these misconceptions.
Exactly.
You know, so that they actually said this is the exact reason we had this program.
So the Pamela Gellers of the world, the Michael Savages, who have made millions and millions of dollars off of this hate toward Muslims now, what are steps that we can take as conscious people to check them on this?
There's one step, and it's very powerful. It's so powerful that they don't want you to use it, and it's called education. It's called listening. It's called getting to know each other. See, that's what they want. They're promoting this hatred against Islam. They're demonizing Islam. And what are they afraid of? They're afraid of people seeing through their lies, of recognizing the truth, of figuring out that Islam isn't evil, that Muslims aren't evil, that we can all get along. Yeah. And how will people see through their lies when they get to know a Muslim one-on-one?
And Pamela Geller, for those who are listening, is the same individual. You remember a case of a few weeks ago when the United States Marine Corps on Afghanistan soil, who are occupiers there, not only do they kill the kids, but then they kill the parents, and then they urinated on their bodies, on their dead bodies. They stacked them one next to another. And she said this: "I love the Marines. Perhaps this is the infidel interpretation of the Islamic ritual of washing and preparing the body for burial." I mean, just vile hatred.
That's what it is. It's hatred. And I think that is what our common enemy is. Our enemies are not a people, all right? They are not particular individuals even, but their ideas like hatred, bigotry, xenophobia, which is what people like Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer are promoting. And really what they're doing, the protests, what they were really an insult to the teachers. They were an insult to the students. To think that the students are so, ignorant that they could be brainwashed in one session, that they wouldn't benefit from learning about Islam, which is one of the world's largest religions and fastest growing religion, as they would benefit from learning about Christianity or Judaism. It's an insult to the teachers to think that they're not responsible and are stupid enough to actually bring in a terrorist or a terrorist supporter to a school. It's insulting to the U.S. government, because here they're saying people are walking amongst us and are supporting terrorism, and that the government just lets them walk freely. I mean, do they really have that bad of an opinion of our government, of our schools, of our teachers?
Yeah, Hassan, what is your website? Because, I'm going to send you some more money. And I'm going to encourage my friends to do the same. Because the type of activism that you guys are involved in at CARE is exactly the kind of frontline defense to these wingnuts who are out here like Pamela Geller and the Michael Savages of the world that we need.
Appreciate that. Actually, I really believe CARE is much more patriotic than these people, because CARE as an organization, we are promoting unity, tolerance, diversity, and these people are promoting hatred, bigotry, and really the destruction of our Constitution. You can visit our website, www.cair.com, or to donate specifically to our chapter in Florida, CARE Tampa. Just Google CARE Tampa, CAIR Tampa. My website is HassanShibly.com, HassanShibly, again, HassanShibly.com.
Thank you, Hassan. Again, you're listening to The Muslim Street live on WTAN 1340. We're going to go to a really quick commercial break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.